The argument exploded without warning, like a storm breaking through a quiet sky, and in the middle of raised voices and unspoken frustrations, my boss stepped closer than she ever had before. The air between us charged with something I didn't yet understand, and before my mind could catch up to my heart, everything I thought I knew about my life, my job, and myself was shaken in a single breathless moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected turns of fate, take a second right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel, because stories like this one are about real emotions, real mistakes, and the quiet hope that love sometimes shows up when we least expect it. My name is Caleb Morrison, and until that day, my life in Chicago felt like a carefully balanced routine built on responsibility and restraint. I was 27, living alone in a modest apartment on the north side of the city, waking up every morning before sunrise to catch the train downtown, and pouring everything I had into my job at a mid-sized architecture firm. I believed in hard work, in keeping my head down, and in earning my place through effort rather than luck. My boss, Margaret Whitfield, was the definition of authority to me. She was in her early 40s, respected across the firm, sharp-minded, composed, and seemingly untouchable. People spoke her name with a mix of admiration and fear, and I was no different. She had hired me straight out of graduate school, pushed me harder than anyone else, and somehow made me better at my job than I ever thought I could be. I told myself my loyalty was professional, nothing more, even though I noticed how my chest tightened whenever she praised my work, and how her disappointment felt heavier than anyone else's. That morning started like any other, but something felt off from the moment I walked into the office. The usual hum of keyboards and quiet conversations felt tense, as if everyone sensed the pressure building beneath the surface. A major project deadline was approaching, one that could determine the firm's future, and I'd been leading a critical part of the design. When Margaret called me into her office just after lunch, her tone was clipped, formal, and distant. I sat across from her desk as sunlight streamed through the tall windows, illuminating the framed awards on the wall and casting sharp shadows that made the room feel smaller than usual. She questioned my design choices, her words precise and unyielding, and for the first time since I started working there, I pushed back. I explained my reasoning, defended my work, and felt something inside me crack as weeks of unspoken stress spilled out. The argument grew louder, heavier, fueled by exhaustion and pride, until it felt like neither of us knew how to step back. I stood up, my heart pounding, telling her I had given everything to this project, and that I felt unseen, unheard, and taken for granted. My voice trembled despite my efforts to stay calm, and I hated that she could see how much her opinion mattered to me. Margaret stood too, her eyes locked onto mine, her expression unreadable but intense. The room seemed to shrink around us, the sounds of the office fading away until there was nothing but the space between us and the weight of everything left unsaid. Then, without warning or explanation, she closed that distance. The moment was brief but powerful, like a lightning strike, and when she pulled away, the argument was gone, replaced by stunned silence and a rush of emotions I wasn't prepared to face. She didn't apologize or explain right away. Instead, she stepped back, steadying herself, her composure returning in fragments. She told me to take the rest of the day off, her voice softer now, almost vulnerable, and I left her office in a daze. The city outside felt unreal as I walked aimlessly through the streets, my thoughts spiraling between disbelief, confusion, and a strange warmth that settled deep in my chest. I questioned everything. Had I imagined it? Had stress finally broken us both? Or had something real, something dangerous and undeniable surfaced in that moment? I spent the evening staring out my apartment window at the glow of city lights, replaying every second in my mind, wondering how a single moment could unravel years of carefully built boundaries. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. Margaret avoided me at work, communicating only through brief emails and meetings that felt painfully formal. The distance hurt more than the confusion. I found myself questioning my worth, my professionalism, and my future at the firm. Rumors began to swirl quietly, not about us, but about changes coming to the company, about layoffs and restructuring. The pressure intensified, and I buried myself in work, hoping focus would quiet the storm inside me. But late at night, alone with my thoughts, I couldn't escape the memory of that moment or the unspoken emotions behind it. A week later, Margaret asked me to meet her after hours. The office was nearly empty, the lights dimmed, the usual energy replaced by a calm stillness. She looked different then, less like the untouchable leader and more like a woman carrying her own fears and regrets. She spoke slowly, choosing her words with care, and acknowledged that what happened had crossed lines she had spent her career enforcing. She admitted she had been fighting feelings she didn't want, feelings she thought she had no right to have. She told me that in that argument, seeing my passion and hurt, something inside her gave way. It wasn't an excuse, just the truth as she saw it. Hearing her honesty didn't make things easier, but it made them real. I told her how lost and shaken I had felt, how that moment had both confused and awakened something in me. I admitted that I had always admired her, not just as a boss, but as a person, even though I never allowed myself to think beyond that. We talked about power, boundaries, and the risks involved, about how easily lives and careers could be damaged. The conversation was heavy, emotional, and raw, but it was also the first time we truly saw each other without roles or expectations getting in the way. In the weeks that followed, we made a difficult decision. Margaret requested a transfer to another branch in a different state, choosing distance and integrity over convenience. The firm approved it quietly, and while the office buzzed with speculation, the truth remained ours alone. On her last day, we stood together in the empty conference room where we had spent countless hours working side by side. There was sadness, but also relief, and a sense of closure that felt earned rather than forced. She told me that whatever the future held, she wanted me to know that moment had been real, not a mistake born of anger, but an honest reflection of what she felt. After she left, life slowly found a new rhythm. I stayed with the firm, took on more responsibility, and grew into a leadership role I once thought was beyond my reach. The experience changed me. I became more aware of my own emotions, more willing to speak up, and more compassionate toward the unseen battles others carry. Months later, Margaret and I reconnected, not as boss and employee, but as two people navigating new chapters of our lives. The distance and time had given us clarity, and we chose to see where honesty and patience might lead without the weight of secrecy or imbalance. Looking back, I realized that moment in the argument wasn't about impulse or desire alone. It was about being seen, about vulnerability breaking through walls built from fear and control. It taught me that emotions don't follow rules, but integrity comes from how we respond to them. Sometimes the most unexpected moments reveal truths we've been too afraid to face, and while they can disrupt everything, they can also guide us toward growth and understanding. If this story touched your heart, reminded you of a moment that changed your life, or made you believe in the power of honesty and second chances, please take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach others who might need them. And before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced a moment that completely changed how you saw someone or yourself? Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. In the end, I learned that life doesn't always move in straight lines, and love doesn't always arrive gently or on time. Sometimes it crashes into us during arguments, in moments of anger and truth, forcing us to confront who we are and what we want. And when we choose honesty, courage, and kindness, even the most unexpected beginnings can lead to something meaningful and real.